Hi, and welcome to Cover Brand, where we cover all things branding, marketing, and advertising to help you understand what the hell branding is and how it works to grow your business. Welcome and welcome back to Cover Brand. I'm your host, Ethan Decker. Today, I have the great pleasure of having my great friend, Anne Macomber, on the show. Hi, Anne.
Hi, Ethan.
What's going on?
I'm so excited to be here.
You wore the right color for the show.
I did. We have the same color palette today, so I'm stoked about that as well.
And tomorrow, and the day after.
And always, and always.
And so on and so on. And they told two friends, and they told two friends. So hi, it's good to see you. I know we talked a little bit about what your situation is, but the folks listening in don't know it yet. So why don't you give me the situation and then we'll go from there.
All right. So I am going back to school to get my master's, figuring out a glide path out of advertising at some point.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Thank you. Everyone has to exit at some point.
Yes. Hopefully it's a glide and not a tumble.
Not an ejection, not the ejector seat. We all hope. So as part of that, I'm a TA, and I have been coaching and mentoring some of the kids that are in my international marketing class, and they've had a lot of questions around career advice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking in a couple of weeks about getting some functional things set up for them, but also this idea of building their personal brand, what it means to build the brand of you. And I think as I started to dig into it, I realized it was something we've all developed over time, but looking at like what advice and sort of the nuts and bolts would be to help coach these guys who are 21, 22, like on their path as they're just starting to develop their own.
Right. How do they build a brand of themselves and maintain that brand when they're probably in a larger organization where they're supposed to be building that company's brand?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And how they do those two things simultaneously.
Right. So I have some interesting things that might be helpful here. First of all, it seems like you have a sense of your own personal brand at this point.
Other than orange, or in addition to orange?
Other than orange. In
orange.
addition to orange. But it seems like orange is a piece of your puzzle.
Orange is a piece of my puzzle. Orange is a piece of your puzzle.
Oh, yes. Oh, indeed. It is many pieces of my puzzle. Sometimes there are big areas of the puzzle that are just pure orange, and you're like, I don't know where these pieces go. So, but when did you hit upon orange as your thing? Was one of the things.
That's a good one. Like I think picking a color was maybe in the last 10 years that I sort of dialed in a color. Danny Copeland, who's a good friend of both of ours, has always had black as her color, which feels like the absence of color, but it is actually, if you know Danny, a strong statement.
Sure.
And she was one of the first people that really had like a strong point of view on having a brand color. And I think she definitely influenced me to pick mine. Orange is probably the opposite of black.
It's pretty far. Yes.
It's pretty loud. It's a lot. Orange is a lot.
Orange is the new black? No, orange is the opposite of black. Yes.
Correct.
Well, how conscious are you about this kind of thing? Your own personal brand, your color, stuff like that.
I think I've become more conscious about it just because in order to for two reasons. One, in order to differentiate yourself in a world that I feel like is increasingly like homogenous, or increasingly forcing you to be with the machine and be part of this. As you move up into management, they try and make you more part of the machine. And I think part of that has been the rebellion against it. And the other piece of it for me, I think, has been just getting clear on what I do well and what I do differently, and having my brand stand for that so that I can enjoy my work more and do the things I'm good at versus, and be clear to other people. Like, if you're buying me, this is what you're getting, right?
Mm-hmm,
you know? So I think that was the glide path for me in figuring that out.
Yeah. So here are some thoughts about what to help these kids with their personal brand. Top of the thing here, and Tom Peters, I think he wrote about personal brand you 2.0, or I don't know, the Brand You booklet. He wrote these things 20 or 30 years ago, and it was great. They're great little books about your brand. I as much as I love them, I also bristle at the concept of a personal brand because it sounds chintzy and cheesy and salesy. So what I like to start with is your brand is your reputation. And it's the same with a company. And it's based on what people think about you, but it's also based on what you do. Right? If you keep showing up unprepared and uninformed and late, that's part of your personal brand, so to speak. So
Yeah.
step one, when you're talking to these kids about their personal brand, they should just realize it's their reputation. That's the really easy shorthand for it. The second piece is when you do think about your reputation or your personal brand, you want to know, first of all, what is it? So you want to be more you. As you and I have learned, we got to lean into who you really are and not be afraid of it, not try and round off the sharp corners, the sharp, spiky things are what make you you and what make you different than others.
And I think that's like the challenge that I've been having with a lot of the career advice these kids have been getting are
Mhm.
is to make them less them. Like they've been told to like strip everything out of their resume so that they're not even picking a
Right,
typeface. You know what I mean? Like it's
right.
as generic as possible. They're taking headshots. I met with this great kid who normally has like black nails and these like fun bracelets, but he's whip smart and he wants to be a creative director. And they're like, take more professional headshots. And I'm like, that's terrible advice. Like take
Yeah.
professional photos of who you are. Not
Yes.
you're not working in finance, or you're not becoming an attorney. You're going to become a creative director. What are
Yeah. Yeah. There are things you should learn that are professional, right? In ways that you should be be familiar and fit in to things, but a piece of your personal brand absolutely is being more you and not less you, because ultimately it's going to squeeze out the cracks anyway. No one ever told Oprah she has to be more like Steve Jobs. And thank God Oprah is not more like Steve Jobs, right? We want Oprah to be the most Oprah-ish she can be. So that is a big piece of it. You're right. Tell these kids they need to know how to spell check and how to write a professional email, but they also need to know who they are and what they bring to the table. And that unique thing is often a combo, it's not one thing. So when you're building your personal brand or thinking about your personal brand, you want to think about what's my ingredient list. So
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
me, I have a PhD in ecology and I'm maybe brainy and sciencey, but I'm also a former musical theater nerd that wrote musicals and did improv. And that combo is not very common. And that combo are the spiky things that stick out in who I am. So for your kids building out their personal brand, first they have to figure out who they are and what are their spiky parts. And
Oh, I love the contrast there, because I think people don't talk about that concept a
right.
lot, about like bringing two things together that sort of have a tension, and that's where your brand, like the goodness, the gooey center of your brand lives, is
Yeah,
bringing things that have a little bit of tension or contradiction to them.
absolutely. I mean, maybe you're a hot vamp, but also you're
Thanks,
hot
Ethan.
between yes, but also you're hot between the sheets and you're a CPA,
Yeah.
right? Like, and you're a total numbers geek. But whatever those things are that you bring, your combo is going to be much more distinctive, and it's going to be you. And so you want to play that up. And so help these kids figure out who they are and help them lean into that and find it and figure out their recipe, their spikes. So that's step one. Be more you. Step two in personal branding is be more conscious. And that's why you and I are very consciously wearing certain clothes. Now, when you're young, you already do this. Like when you go to the job interview, you want to dress the part, right? And we all fixate on our hair because we're human and humans are very conscious about how our hair looks. But then when you think about you as an individual and you as a brand, you and your reputation, how can you be more conscious in crafting who you are and how you represent yourself and how you come across? And so that consciousness leads to part three, which is I don't want to call them parlor tricks. I don't want to call them shticks or um, but what are your things? Maybe you've got your things. And
What's your bit?
yeah, what's your bit? Exactly. What's your bit? If your bit is you always drop Star Wars references, then that's your bit. If your bit is your nails are fire and you always have incredible nails and they're just beautiful, then that's your bit. And you want to commit to the bit, as they like to say. Commit to the bit.
Commit to the bit. Commit to the That's a good third one.
And commit to the bit is really also in this very therapeutic way, committing to be yourself, committing to show
Yeah.
up as you and like, yeah, this is who I am. And it's hard when you're young because you have to do what everyone else wants and you've got no power and you feel like you've got to fit in. I bought all the wrong clothes when I started in advertising because I felt like I had to fit in. So my early advertising wardrobe is all black and gray and black and gray and maybe a little bit of dark gray, right? And if you're a creative, how many black t-shirts
The
do you
Danny
need?
Copeland special.
Yeah, but also ad agency people. Like we used to
Yeah,
go to,
correct, correct.
you and I used to work together and we were at a big agency. And when we'd go to pitch, we'd all dress great and we looked cool and we looked like agency people. And, you know, the account people wore black suits or black jackets and the creatives wore black t-shirts and Doc Martens.
Yeah.
And then we walked out of our pitch and in came the next team to pitch the company dressed in the exact same shit. Because we all, you know, played the role, had the stereotype, fit in. And again, if you go back to the first step, which is what are your spiky parts and what's that recipe of your spiky parts? What's your brand? Then you don't necessarily want to fit in. You want to do it your way, whatever
Yeah.
that is. And then that's not just the surface or symbolic things like nails and shirts and suits, but it's how you present. It's what words you use. It's are you high energy or low energy? Are you a good talker or a good listener? Are you performative or are you thoughtful? Those are very big elements of your brand, your reputation. And you
How do
want
you
to
think
know who you are. Know
how do you
thyself.
think know thyself? How do you think kids who are like just starting out in that should get a sense of that? Like what are like tools or exercises that they can use? Because I think that self-awareness is not
Yes.
necessarily something you have like in your early 20s, like you and I could go through and be like, here's my gig, right? But I think if you're just starting out, that's like a hard thing to determine.
Yeah.
How do you
There's
help them with
one,
that?
the Marcus Buckingham Company has one. Marcus Buckingham, Strengths Finder, Love and Work thing. He's got a great free one online, free Strengths Finder, something like that.
Okay.
Uh, Standout assessment. The
Oh,
standout assessment. And it's not the only one. You can use the Enneagram, you can use the Strengths Finder, you can use the Find Your Parachute. There are so many of these things out there. Use one of these self-assessment tools to know your strengths. I do like Marcus's approach. He's the one that talks about being spiky and not rounded. And then the second thing is ask people around you that know you and respect you and love you, what are your strengths? What is my brand? Ask them and they'll tell you. And if they know you and love you, they'll definitely let you know who you are, how you show up. Oh, and you're the person who always blah, 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 blah. And I see you as like one of those huge fountains in the middle of Rome. And it's ornate and artistic and beautiful, but it's loud because it's, you know, pouring water all over the city and kids run through it and, you know, that kind of thing. And so talk to others and they will also help you figure out who you are and what your personal brand. Again, it feels so crass to say that when you're talking about your identity, but yeah, what's your brand?
but that really is what it is, right? Like if
Yeah.
it's a true reflection of who you are, it's less crass because you're not creating it, you're just turning it outward.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that's where people make the mistake is it feels like artificial or contrived, but in reality it's the truest way
Yeah.
to go through the world.
Yeah. And if you think the role needs X and you are not X, well, then you need to find a place in the world where you can shine because there are 8 billion ways to live a life. And in any company, there are 300 types of people you need. And just because you are a certain type of creative, you know what? Well, then that space is filled and the team should have a different type of creative on the team, and that should be me, and it should be my style.
Yeah.
So lean into your spikes, be more conscious about it. And that's that. So after you do your strengths finder exercise, your standout assessment, then be more conscious about that, show up that way more, be more explicit. And then that third one is the bit. What is your bit? And commit to the bit. And if you always
Commit
walk
to the
around
bit.
with journals and you're always drawing in them, then embrace that, love that, commit to it. Everywhere I go, people know I'm going to, for work at least, I'm going to wear this damn orange track jacket, and I'm going to wear my matching orange Vans or sneakers or whatever I've got, and I'm going to bring Tony's Chocolonely, and I'm going to put on a show, but it's a show that also connects and resonates with you. It's
Yeah.
not just silly. So that's my bit, and I commit to it. You've got your own bit, Anne, and you know how to commit to it.
I've got my own bit. I've got one little like follow-up question on that.
Bring it.
Which is like, as we're encouraging people to commit to their bit and be them, sort of like let their freak flag fly, like where is the sweet spot, or how do you tell how much bit is too much bit? So an example that I'm giving the kids as I'm teaching them is like getting their website set up and getting, their portraits done and that. And I encourage them to just be simple and buy their name for their website, or do
Yep.
high quality photographs that have a touch of personality, right? Like, I think again, that nuance is something that becomes easier as you get old,
Mm-hmm.
but nuance is hard when you're younger, to sort of land the plane in, oh, it feels like me and it feels like I'm an individual,
Right.
without like going completely off the rails and becoming unemployable.
Yeah. The easiest way to think about that is, what's your audience? Who's going to read your website? And are you going to connect with them in the right way? So step one, yes, commit to the bit, but also, know your audience, know the setting. If you're going to, if I'm me, I just got to be me, and then you go to a fine banquet, well, there are rules of a banquet, and you should kind of adhere to some of those rules. And let's say I go to a black tie event, I actually don't show up in my track jacket. I show up in a tuxedo, and maybe I've got bright orange tuxedo shoes, or I've got a lapel pin of my Frelk and it's bright orange. Know how to commit to the bit within the context for your audience,
So
for
like
who's going to read your stuff.
scale it up or scale it down depending on what the deliverable is that
Yep.
you have. You can have a touch of your brand. You can be all brand. Like here,
Yep.
we can be all us, right? But in some other situations, maybe we're only,
Yeah.
10% of it, or it's harnessed in a different way, or it's
Yep.
channeled in a different way.
And when you're younger in your career, you usually have to fit in more and scale up and down more. When you're older and crotchety and don't give a shit anymore, you can just be yourself and show up exactly how you are. But that's the luxury of being older and crotchety
It
and successful.
it really is. You get to be more, the older you get, the more you
Yep.
get to be. It's really one of the most delicious things about aging.
A little one I say when I do my talks for young folks and folks in university, I say when you're young, you usually have to say yes to everything, and hopefully when you're older, you get to say no to everything you want. Right?
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So it's the same with showing up as you. The final thing I would say is there's a huge range about what people are willing and capable and willing and capable to do when it comes to hiding their freak flag. And if you're a true artist, you can't help it. You can't control it. There's no way you're going to cover anything. And that's great. But there are, places for that in the world. And they're different than for the people who are willing to be chameleons, willing to hide their freakiness, to round off their spikes. And so there are different roles and different places for people who are like, I'm me, I'm just me, and you take me as I am, versus the people who are willing to fit in more and buy the corporate apparel, things like that.
I love it. I love it. Super helpful stuff for the kids.
Cool.
Commit to the bit. Commit to the bit. It's going into the deck.
Know who you are. Know the bit, right?
Know who you. Be more you. Be more
you.
conscious. Commit to the bit.
Be more conscious, and then commit to the bit.
I love it. Super helpful.
Good. Great. Well, good luck with the teaching. That sounds great.
Thank you. It's fun. It feels like one of those things that you're doing it to teach them. And as always, the kids always teach you more than you think you're ever pushing out. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's a two-way street.
it is a two-way street for
It's
sure.
good to see you, Anne.
It's good to see you, friend.
Come back with more questions and we'll talk more.
I have so many questions. I would love
Okay.
to do that.
We'll do that next time on Cover Brand with your host, Ethan Decker.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, dear.
Bye, hun.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to learn more about brand science, head on over to appliedbrandscience.com. Also, if you got something out of this episode, think of one person who might also get something out of it and send it to them as a way of saying, hey, thinking of you.